How many SEC programs would start Brock Vandagriff if he were on the roster? That's the question that I have for you today. Now, I'm starting this video saying that I believe Carson Beck is going to be QB1 for the Georgia Bulldogs next fall. I think a lot of people agree with that, and I think Brock Vandagriff is maybe not the clear backup because Gunnar Stockton's pretty good too, but I think Brock Vandagriff right now is running with the twos. And earlier this week, I was thinking, you know what? I still like Brock Vandagriff. I saw him a ton in high school. He can run. He's got a big-time arm, and he's still getting better. And I was thinking, how many other programs would love to have a guy like Brock Vandagriff, even Gunnar Stockton, on the roster right now? And how many programs would start him this upcoming season if he were on the roster? So put together a list of SEC quarterbacks or SEC programs where their quarterback situation is, and I think he would start at multiple SEC programs. Let's start at Alabama, right? I think he could push for the job at Alabama. They're a really good team, but I think for the first time in a while, their biggest weakness and the position that might hold them back is the quarterback position, something we haven't said about Alabama in a long time. Jalen Milroe played some last year. Explosive runner, not sure if he can throw the ball. He can throw the ball. I'm not sure if he can pass the ball and play quarterback well enough to lead them to a championship. Ty Simpson, five-star kid, right? Coming in. A lot of people thought the world of him. It doesn't look like the staff is all in on him as maybe, recruiting analysts were out of high school. He's got a bright future, I think, but it's clear that he's not really the guy because they brought in Tyler Buchner, however you say his name, from Notre Dame. He's fine. He's not great. I don't think he's going to scare anyone if he wins the starting job. So Alabama needs to find their quarterback, and I'm not sure they're enamored with any on the roster right now. So I do think if they had Brock Vandagriff, he could really push for the job and possibly win it over in Tuscaloosa. They've got to figure that quarterback position out, and I don't think it's scaring anyone, whoever they do end up picking of guys on the roster. So Alabama, I think, would give Brock Vandagriff a real, opportunity to start. Auburn has Robbie Ashford, who started last year, another explosive runner. Still not sure he's a good enough passer and, legitimate quarterback to lead them to where they want to go. They did bring in Peyton Thorne from Michigan State. Again, he's okay. He's not great. About 62% completion percentage last year, 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Not great. I think they had a wide receiver or two hit the portal because they didn't want him throwing the ball to them. Better 2021 season than he did last year. He's fine. I think he's average, above average on his best day. Could Brock Vandagriff push for that starting job? I think he would get a real look. I'm not sure he would start over Peyton Thorne, who was a 2-year starter at Michigan State, has that experience and, has the ability to, win some games for them. But I think he would push for that job for sure. Mississippi State has Will Rogers. That's their guy. He would not start at Mississippi State. Arkansas, KJ Jefferson. Been there, forever now. I think he's a fifth-year senior. That's their guy. Brock Vandagriff would not start at Arkansas. Ole Miss, they've got 3 guys on the roster pushing for the job. Jackson Dart was a starter last year. He will not be the starter again because they brought 2 guys in from the transfer portal. So they're kind of pushing Jackson Dart out of the way. Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State, plenty of experience, big-time starter, big arm. I think he's in the best position to win the job. And then Walker Howard, former 5-star who did that little TikTok dance when he was being recruited at LSU. I think that went viral, but he transferred from LSU to Ole Miss. He's in the running for the job. Brock Vandagriff not starting at Ole Miss if he were there. Tennessee has Joe Milton. A lot of people think he could have a Hendon Hooker type of season. He could throw the ball 70 yards. I'm concerned a little bit about his accuracy. If he can, be consistently accurate with the football, down the field, intermediate, short passing game, well enough to beat a team like Georgia. I think Tennessee will be second in the SEC Eastern Conference division, this year again. He's their guy. They're all in on Joe Milton, who has been around for a long, long time now. Brock Vandagriff would not be the starting quarterback at Tennessee, in my opinion. I think he would be second there, but who knows? I think Brock Vandagriff is better than a lot of Georgia fans realize. He was, I was told, better in the other scrimmages than he was in G-Day. I think he's a good player. I really do. Kentucky has a Kaya Sharon, who will be a redshirt sophomore, playing 4 games last year, started 1. Destin Wade is a redshirt freshman. I think they're high on. But Devin Leary, the transfer from NC State, I think is going to be the guy. Had a really good 2021 season. Not as much last year. I think he got hurt. His numbers decreased dramatically last year compared to 2021. So I think Devin Leary's their guy, but I think Brock Vandagriff could be better than him. I mean, why not? So if Brock Vandagriff played for Kentucky, I think he'd have a real opportunity to be the starter there over Devin Leary and the other two. Missouri has Brady Cook. I think they're fine there, but Brock Vandagriff at his best, I think could be better than Brady Cook. They also have Sam Horn and Jake Garcia on the roster. If Brock Vandagriff played for Missouri, I think he would have a real shot at winning that starting job. You know what you're getting with Brady Cook. He's not going to get any better. He is what he is. Brock Vandagriff still has his best football ahead of him. So I could see Brock Vandagriff starting at Missouri if he were on the roster, even though Brady Cook is a returning starter. And they've got other talented quarterbacks on the roster. Jake Garcia hasn't done much of anything. Former 5-star, bounced around in high school, was at Miami, now he's at Missouri it's hard to figure out where he's going, if he's staying, if he's leaving. Doesn't look like he's going to be doing much of anything this year. I'm not sold on him at all. And Sam Horn, like him more as a baseball player than a football player. Won a state championship with Collins Hill a couple of years ago, thanks to Travis Hunter and a few others. But Missouri, I think, could really use a guy like Brock Vandagriff on the roster. South Carolina has Spencer Rattler. Brock Vandagriff not starting over Spencer Rattler. I think he could be better than Spencer Rattler, but he wouldn't be the starter at Carolina because they're all in on Spencer Rattler after what he did at the end of the season, beating Tennessee and Clemson like that. He's their guy. LSU has their guy, Jaden Daniels, and Grant Nussmeier, who slung it all, I don't want to say all over Georgia's defense, but he made some big-time throws down the field that opened up my eyes and said, okay, this guy can play. He can throw the football, and his best football is ahead of him. So LSU has a solid starter, one of the best in the conference, in Jaden Daniels, and a very legitimate backup already on the roster. So Brock Vandagriff would not start at LSU. Florida, he would start at Florida. Florida would welcome Brock Vandagriff with open arms, roll out the red carpet if you wanted to jump on board, play in Gainesville. They have a big-time quarterback issue going on in Gainesville. They would love to have Brock Vandagriff. I 100% believe that he would start at Florida if he were on the roster. No doubt about it. They would love to have a guy like Brock Vandagriff. Vanderbilt has Mike Wright, A.J. Swan, Ken Seals. I think Brock Vandagriff would start at Vanderbilt if he were on the roster. A&M has Connor Wegman, threw for 900 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions when he took over for Haynes King. They love him. They think this guy is the second coming of the Johnny football, whatever. They love this kid over there, but they love every quarterback, right? They said the same thing about Haynes King, who is now at Georgia Tech. So I think Connor Wegman is a nice player. I don't think he's the guy that they expect him to be or want him to be. Max Johnson is also on the roster at A&M. So I do not think Brock Vandagriff would start, but again, I think he would push Connor Wegman for the job. I mean, Brock has a cannon for a right arm. He does. He has one of the strongest arms in the SEC, in my opinion. He can run, can throw on the run. Decision-making can be a little off here and there, but it didn't look all that great at Georgia's G-Day scrimmage, but I thought he did some good things as well. So I think he is capable of starting at multiple SEC programs. And, you know, I wrote when I saw him, I think for the 5th time after he won a state championship with Prince Abner Christian as a senior, I said Georgia can win a national championship with this kid. He checked all the boxes. He was a 5-star for a reason. His arm has not gotten any worse. It's gotten stronger since he's been at Georgia. Yet when he's healthy, and he was running on a bad knee and running by guys rushing for 100+ yards, seemed about every game in high school. So it's not like he's just a passer. He's just a runner. He really can do both. And he took off for a run during G-Day where I'm like, yeah, you're not supposed to do that at 220 pounds, run that fast. Dude can run like a deer, and in the open field, he's tough to bring down. I mean, he is a tough runner, but he's faster than people think, especially for his size. So he's got some muscle on him. He's got some thickness to his frame. He can sling the ball down the field. Has to work on the accuracy a little bit. I think that's a lot of what people have dinged him for. You know, Brock's got to be more accurate. He's got to be more accurate. But he won the accuracy competition in high school. I've seen him put balls on the money, but he's got to do it more consistently at Georgia. And he's got Gunnar Stockton right on his heels. But I do think he is good enough to where he could start and play, significantly and make a big impact at multiple other SEC programs. Just a thought I had earlier this week, just wanted to share with y'all. Where do you think he could play in the SEC? Am I crazy? Am I right? Let me know in the comment section below. But I am still a believer in Brock Vandagriff. Don't think he's going to be the starter at Georgia this year. I think it's clearly Carson Beck. He's waited his turn. He's got better and better. This is his year. But I still think Brock Vandagriff could be a really good quarterback down the road. Thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I'll see you over on Dog Post.